What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another week of the Point Spread. Final major of the year. Fantasy points launched for the first major at blink of an eye, and here we are for the fourth already. Got my co-host for the second major together. Sam, how you feeling this week?
I'm doing great. I mean, it is the final major of the year, and we always look forward to these. So, I'm just ready. 150th at St. Andrews. I mean, it's a special time. It's a special
It is.
place.
Yeah, I don't know I've ever been this excited for a major since I've been following it like this hardcore. The only bittersweet thing about this major is I feel like once this major concludes, once we get 18th hole at St. Andrews, it's all said and done. Golf kind of takes a back seat in my life. Obviously, busy week with the Open Championship, Scott Fish Bowl kicking off, but always when the Open Championship is finished, it seems like it's just full-fledged football season.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we'll both be at the Expo next month, so we have that to look forward to. And then right after that, literally like a week and a half later, we have, week one football, and preseason is going on all along that time. So, for us, this is great. It's always great to watch golf in the summer, but it has to take a backseat at some point. Sure,
Yeah.
we'll still pay attention, through the FedEx Cup and the playoffs and all of that, but everything kind of does seem to take a little bit of a backseat.
I mean, it gives us 7 great months, and we're clearly still going to do the bets, still do the DFS, but it's just like it just always feels like that. Once the Open Championship hits, you're like, all right, here we go. Week one is on its way.
Yep, because I mean, for us, the sports world has been in a bit of a lull for the past few weeks since the Stanley Cup Finals ended pretty quickly, and really wasn't that much drama in the NBA Finals either. So, golf has been sustaining us, and we've had a really good swing over the past 2 months. And the Open Championship is like our project that it's like our last big hurrah. For the summer before, things go full steam towards the FedEx Cup playoffs, which of course, we'll still put out a ton of content for on that. Underdog released a new game mode on that. So, I mean, that's all going to be great. All of that. I'm looking really forward to that because this is my first time really following the FedEx Cup playoffs. I've done it in recent years, but never to quite the extent that I have planned for this. And then, like you said, we're straight into football season from there. So, exciting times over at Fantasy Points.
And you even got the underdog hat on you're rocking. That is nice.
I do. I love this hat. This is great.
So St. Andrews, clearly a lot of history. Hunter did a fantastic job this week going over the history of the course, how it's played over the last couple of years, but going over some of his quick points. Par 72, only 2 par 3s, 2 par 5s, and 14 par 4s. A majority of those 4s fall into the 350 to 400 range. Played Rory McIlroy PGA right when I got home from work and just shredded the course with Ricky Fowler. Was driving almost every green, but Ricky mashes, so you can't really put that into perspective.
I love that.
Just over 7,300 yards. A lot of bunkers, a lot of deep ones. Hunter had on there 112 total bunkers on the course. The rough isn't too thick, about 1.5 inches, and if you're in the rough, you're not driving the ball well anyways because these fairways are wide open and will just run out. So I am looking at off the tee. I am putting an emphasis on driving distance. I want to be as close as I can and then see who's good around like 75 to 100 yards with their wedges because a lot of these short par 4s are going to leave you with somewhere in that range, hopefully. If you get that combination and get a guy who's pretty good in terms of short game, that's the recipe I'm looking for. And I saw a sneak peek of your card. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, starting off, speaking of a recipe for success, the guy we both have in the middle, Tony Finau, seemed to be the guy who, like, if you're looking at a balance between off the tee and short game, what he's been able to do over the last couple months since he's found his groove is exactly that. He's played a lot of good golf ever since the little lull he went through in the middle of the year. He's made 8 of his last 9 cuts on the PGA Tour. Missed at the U.S. Open, which destroyed a lot of my DFS teams, but I have already forgiven Tony for that. I'm willing to go back to him. Got back at the Travelers T13. My co-host Matt tomorrow night had boots on the ground over there, was top 10 in approach and tee to green. And then looking at the Open Championship history, T15 or better in each of his last 3. Like Tony Finau for me is probably my favorite bet. I took this 45 at Bet Rivers, paired it with an each way. Their each way is top 7 and better this week, which for the majors, they usually do that. Good bonus. You slash that 45 by 5. And then if he finishes top 7 or better, you get that. So glad to see that we're both on Finau. It's not often that we overlap on picks, Sam. So I like to see that.
Yeah, and for me, Finau was just such an interesting thing because he really does fit into a lot of the things you need to succeed here. You know, he ranks first in bogey avoidance and 3-putt avoidance, which, you know, at a course like St. Andrews where the greens are huge and, you know, you need to get your shots close, he's really good in that. He's been able to stick it very close, and when he's on the green, he's been a great lag putter. So yeah. That's important to me. And a bit, you know, obviously, like we said, there's 14 par 4s on this course. You know, you can't perform on a course like this and not be, you know, highly ranked at par 4 efficiency, which he is as well, ranking 4th in this field over the last 24 months. So that's a big thing as well. And honestly, his putting has been really great lately.
Yes.
So if he's able to keep that up, not only am I going to have him as an outright, he'll be in DFS lineups. He'll be pretty much everywhere for me. And like you, he is probably my favorite bet of this week as well.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to ownership and all that yet. I would assume he'll be fairly popular, especially given his history. I mean, you look at last year, 15th, skipped a year, 2019, 3rd, 2018, he was 9th, 2017, 27th, 2016, 18th. So he's never finished outside the top 30. Yeah. Finally, his game is rounding into form. He lost just under a stroke putting at the Travelers, but before that, he gained in 4 straight, putted the lights out at the RBC Canadian Open, where he finished 2nd, the 4th at the Charles Schwab, the 2nd at Mexico. And it was good to see because he was really struggling early on in the year, January, February, missing a lot of cuts, finishing low. I mean, outside of his win at the Northern Trust last year, he just kind of fell off a cliff and was trying to regain that form. But the one thing that never went away was his off tee, and that's kind of his jam. That's what he does well. I think these 350 to 400 yard par 4s, he's going to put himself in such a good spot. And then looking at Finau's proximity from 75 to 100 yards over the past 12 rounds, ranks inside the top 10. So if you're putting it out there, you're putting that well, and you can put it close when you get to that range, it all sets up well for him. And I'm just so happy that Bet Rivers has the best number on him, because when you can get that top 7 each way, it's just such an advantage. I would never, well, I wouldn't say never, but I feel a lot more comfortable having that as kind of an outlet where if he does finish T5 or 6 or something like that and has a fantastic week, you don't miss out completely. Where people who only do outrights, say Rory goes out and wins, which I obviously wouldn't put it past him, takes it out of the question for you. But if Finau's right on him all day, 3rd, 4th, you get that top 7 each way. And having it on Bet Rivers, which they usually have horrible numbers, was really good to see. Let's jump up to your first pick, Jordan Spieth at 18 to 1.
Yeah, and for this is a big thing for me. A big thing for me this week is 1, course history, and 2, recent form. And both of those, you know, Spieth obviously checks the numbers. The last time that the Open was here in 2015, he obviously finished 4th, one behind Zach Johnson, Leishman, and Oosthuizen. And look, he's always been a great links player. He just finished 10th at the Scottish Open. He was in contention all week there. You know, his game has also really been rounding into form recently after, you know, not so great start to the year. So it is good to see him back in it. He seems to have finally found his swing. Whatever weird stuff he's been doing all year clearly have seemed to work for him. So, look, for Spieth, for me, a big thing is, his driving distance is a major plus. Like you said, it's weird because the driving distance thing, what I found this week was so many Opens have been won not by driving distance, but by driving accuracy. But at St. Andrews, you want length. So we're going to focus definitely more heavily on driving distance here, which obviously Spieth can drive the ball 330, 340 yards. It sets him up well for some of those shorter par fours. Maybe he can drive the green there, all of that. And he also, of course, ranks 10th in par four scoring average as well, which is a big plus at a course of this setup as well. So for me, this is kind of a bet on Spieth on recent form and performance, but he is probably the lowest number that I'm comfortable with. So I think a big swing on him to go out there and win another major. It's time.
And speaking of the bigger numbers, for whatever reason this week, BetMGM has the best number on the top 10 golfers for Rory McIlroy at 10-1 down to Patrick Cantlay at 25. And all their other numbers, even in the mid-range, are competitive. I don't know what it is. MGM usually does not come up when you're looking for the best numbers, but for whatever reason, like I might have to redeposit into MGM. I haven't been on there in quite a while because their golf odds haven't been great by any means, but definitely look over there if you're going towards the top of the board. Looking at some of the top guys, Rory, I absolutely love this week in terms of DFS. Don't think I can get there 10-1. Nothing against Rory. I just don't like getting that low, especially as elite as some of these guys are and some of the form that some of these guys are coming in at. Towards the top, my really only debates were between Scotty Scheffler in a bounce back spot because I was on him last week.
At a good number too.
Yeah, very good. I said 14-1 last week was the best number we've seen. Well, here we are with an 18. And then Justin Thomas. I mean, I know he won the U.S. Open. It's hard to win two majors in the same year, but we've obviously seen it before. 22-1 on MGM is ridiculous. 21-1 on FanDuel. But I'm going to go to what I've been saying for months now, it seems like. Saved Shane Lowry at 22-1 for this specifically. Don't love the number, but it's St. Andrews week, and I said this is the spot I wanted him at, and here we are.
We both did.
One of the few top golfers in the world who took a pass on last week's Scottish Open, but the week before at the Irish was third in strokes gained tee to green, sixth on approach, had a pretty good week, but was really never towards the top by any means. I mean, I followed the Irish Open along pretty decent, and Lowry never really made a push. Let a lot of people down at the U.S. Open. I wasn't that heavy on him. I had some exposure just because of his form, but I wasn't all that heavy. Hopefully that miscut pushes some people off of him, but being a former winner here, not here, but at the Open Championship in 2019, I think this just suits him so well, and he's playing a lot better golf than he was back then to a degree. He was in really good form when he won in 2019, but obviously the second at the Honda, third at the Masters, and RBC Heritage back-to-back, had the top 10 at the RBC Canadian, and then, like I said, the top 10 at the Irish Open. So I'm all in on Shane Lowry. 22-1 might seem like a crazy number, especially sandwiched between like Justin Thomas and Morikawa. You would never think Lowry would be pushed into this range, but books know what they're doing, and he is there. So I'm in.
Yeah, and for me, I also have Lowry on my card. But because we did both say we were going to hit him in this spot. We waited literally all summer for this, so it's the perfect time to get Lowry. Like you said, I hope he has some competitive fire on him after he's come out a little lackluster in the last couple starts. This would be the place for him to do it at such a historical site. So for me, I'm big on recent form at the Open this week. All my guys have kind of been in that range so far. So I'm really looking to Lowry as well. I think he can definitely win this thing. He's definitely not considered one of the top guys in this range, but he's definitely priced like he's going to win. If I've learned anything, it's to trust that these books know what they're doing. So let's ride Lowry.
Yeah, and looking at some of his props, you can get him plus 130 for a top 20 on DraftKings. Top 40 is really untouchable. I was looking because Bet Rivers has him 20-1, so 4-1 for a top 7. His best number out there for a top 5 is plus 475. So getting 2 extra places and giving away 75 points, probably worth it. If you want to go that route and do the each way, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I'm just going to take the 22-1 that DraftKings and BetMGM offer. Did you want to touch on Finau at all anymore, or you want to jump right to Power?
No, I think we're good on Finau. Yeah. I think we both said a ton on that and made good cases. Power for me, I typically have these guys that just look so good in the models and grading out so well. Power is that guy for me this week, and the number is tremendous as well. He ranks 2nd in par 4 scoring average this season, and he ranks 10th or 13th in par 4 birdie or better scoring. So he's a guy that has really been playing some great golf lately. And again, he's coming home, same kind of storyline as Shane Lowry, another Irish guy who hasn't really gotten out there yet, but his form has been great recently. String of top 10s and a couple top 20s. I mean, this is a place where he's kind of built to contend. So for Power, who's also 5th in bogey avoidance and 7th in green and regulation, this is a course that's really going to showcase what he's good at and what he's playing well at. 80-1 is a great number for it.
It is. I like Seamus Power. I feel like this is a track that he could excel on. 80-1, solid number as far as I'm going here. And this was kind of talked myself into him throughout the day. Bryson DeChambeau at 110-1. Love the number. What I talked about earlier, wide open fairways, bombs away for Bryson. He's going to leave himself a wedge in on a lot of these short par 4s, just like I mentioned with Tony. He's top 10 at the Live Portland event the last time we saw him. And then the last 12 rounds, number 1 in driving distance, 2nd in 3-putt avoidance, and 8th in proximity from 75 to 100. He could be even shorter than that 75 to 100 mark, depending on what route he takes. But, I mean, Data Golf has stats on the Live event, gained a ton of strokes when it comes to driving distance. Wasn't that accurate. He was about field average, but here it doesn't really matter how accurate you are. I think he's going to surprise some people this week. I think he's finally getting healthy, and at 110-1 for a guy that I've seen win at the biggest stage, like, I don't see why not. This is the most confident I've been in him in quite some time.
Yeah, and he's just not for me, DeChambeau has just been not someone you can rely on. So, I mean, I strayed away from him because of that. 110-1 is definitely a tantalizing number. I'll take a look at that. But
throw $1 on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. Like you said, it's rare you see major winners that low that are still that young. So this is a very stacked field. Yeah. So he's kind of just sunk to the bottom of that bigger range.
And it's a fair price. I mean, he hasn't showed much. I mean, a top 10 at a Live event where there's 48 guys, is it really a top 10?
Yeah. No,
I
don't take anything into account from there.
Seeing that his distance was there and that he showed some type of form where it wasn't just a dumpster fire. I mean, just the whole 3-putt avoidance thing. We know that Bryson at his best on the greens is as good as anybody else. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that 110-1 was interesting, so went that route.
Especially on those shorter par 4s.
Exactly. That's what I need him to take advantage of. That and the par 5s. Let's get into the finishing position bets. So my first one in was Keith Mitchell plus 145 for a top 40. Keith Mitchell's been playing a lot of good golf, made 6 straight cuts on the PGA Tour, 2 of which were top 10 finishes. Looking at the past 12 rounds, he ranked inside my top 10, second in par 4 scoring from 350 to 400 yards, third in strokes gained putting, and inside the field's top 10 when it comes to driving distance. So that mix of short game and driving distance, just like I talked about with Finau, just about like I talked with Bryson, plus 145, I think is a good number for Mitchell, who's in pretty good form. Had a good week last week at the Scottish Open. I think he finished inside the top 20, so I went with Mitchell there. Get into your top 20s here. What do you got with Morikawa? It's a pretty good number.
I think it's just unfair to rank the defending champion like this.
Top 20?
I mean, yeah, at a plus 160, I mean, that's just offensive. I mean, look, this is a place that rewards the best iron players and wedge players in the world. Collin Morikawa, despite his showings this year, is still probably the best iron player in the world. And no one can get hot like him if he's on. And he was definitely on when he won last year. And he had a good showing he had a decent enough showing at the Scottish. I think he's in form to play well at this event and come on again. He ranks 4th in strokes gained approach, obviously, and he ranks 10th in total driving, which, is big for this course. His proximity to hole is 5th overall this season, which I thought was really nice given that you need to be close because the greens are so big.
Yep.
And his par 4 game is his best game. So, when he gets those short par 4s and he has 120 to 150 yards in, there's no one better than him at that range. So it's gonna be all day for him. I don't think he goes back to back. I think the field's a little strong.
Doesn't have to when you got him at top 20,
Yeah, I think this top 20 is a perfect bet for him. It's my favorite finishing bet.
All right. I like that as well. Next one on my board, Emiliano Grillo. I have always been a Grillo guy. I probably always will. Looking at the past 12 rounds, he is first in par 4s from 350 to 4, second off the tee. Had a great week at the John Deere Classic where he finished 2nd place. Before that, missed the cut at the Travelers, but was fairly consistent in terms of making cuts. Not all of them were top 40 finishes, but RBC Canadian was really good tee to green, off the tee approach, had everything except for the putter for the most part. But John Deere, he did flash his putter. So I am back on Grillo at plus 280. Let's hear about your last 2 top 20s. I mean, power, you don't really got to talk about. Just obviously a great number. If you're going to go outright with him and take the shot on 80 to 1, why not backdoor a top 20 if he doesn't get there? Yeah, especially at almost 3 to 1.
Yeah, so that's, doesn't have to be explained. Varner, for me, this is pretty much a FOMO bet from last week because I know he would have done well at the Scottish if he had not withdrawn. I just hope he's healthy. So, that's obviously the big thing. And if he is, this is a course that kind of negates some of his weaknesses, which is mostly he sprays it off the tee a ton. Yeah. So if he gets into trouble, the fairways are wide enough to bail him out a little bit. But if not, he is one of the better players at scrambling on the tour. He ranks 15 in strokes gained around the green. So his other thing is that he ranks 14th in approach putt performance. Obviously, if you want to stick it close, you want someone like Varner who can do that, and he can do it a lot of them in one round, which leads to a lot of first round leaders on him. And he's ranks 8th in 3-putt avoidance and is 8th in strokes gained approach in his last 24 rounds as well. So at almost 5 to 1, this number was way too good for me to snap up for a guy who, again, has been playing his best golf this year. So
yep, and it looks like his top 40 is plus 140 on FanDuel. Is the best number you can get.
God.
Love that as well.
So good.
Love that as well. So before I get into Scrivener, why don't you round us out with Scotty Scheffler at plus 210? Like I said when we were on the outrights, a guy that I was really considering throwing on my card for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not sure what happened to Scheffler last week. He just never really got it going. He looked a little uncomfortable almost every time he popped up on the screen when I was watching. So, but at the same time, he was still making birdies. He was still making shots. He just wasn't having a good game everywhere else, and he really should have made the cut with the way he played. He just got a few bad breaks. So, I'm back in on Scotty because the Scotty that has shown up at majors this year has been something of things I haven't seen since prime Tiger Woods. Like this is a golfer who has been absolutely dominant at every single stage this year. And why should it stop before the Open? I mean, if he hasn't already locked up Player of the Year, which he probably already has, a top 10 here would absolutely lock it up for him. So, I'm betting on Scotty, the golfer that I know that is probably maybe the best win player in the world right now. And at a course like St. Andrews, where you're going to have those coastal winds coming in and disrupting play, I won Scotty. I want the guy who doesn't flinch under pressure, and I know has done it before. I did this last week with Matt Fitzpatrick because he was comfortable on the course. I'm taking Scotty at the same top 10 this week because I'm just comfortable betting Scotty. He's a safe pick. And at plus 210, I'm getting 2-1 on something that should probably be in the low, 130, 140 range for a golfer of his caliber. I want it.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. I think that plus 210 is a great number. And even if he backdoors a T8 on Sunday and you don't even see it coming, it wouldn't shock literally anyone.
Rory.
I mean, he could.
Rory style.
Yeah, he could shoot around like that at any time. That miscut last week honestly doesn't worry me all that much.
Me neither.
I mean, it's still an event, but the week before a major, some guys try and work on some things. You don't know what their intentions are. I don't think he cares all that much about how much money he's winning at this point. So, my last bet for finishing positions, Jason Scrivener, European or DP World Tour player, plus 370 last week at the Scottish. He finished T16, second in strokes gained putting. Looking at the last 12 rounds, which, I mean, dates back to last year because he hasn't played in all but, I think, one event this season. He believe he was the match play partner for Jason Day, but we obviously don't have stats on that. But past 12 rounds, number one in the field in three-putt avoidance, 16th in par 4 scoring from 350 to 400, and then top 25 in both strokes gained putting and par 4 scoring. So overall, Scrivener's a guy that I was looking at mainly off of his performance last week. He gained a ton of strokes putting on Sunday, just putted the lights out, which is why he was second last week in the field overall to, I believe, Jamie Donaldson. Data Golf has all of those stats, even though a lot of places don't. So that about rounds it out. Looking past Scrivener, I like to give a couple long shot top 40s. Sean Norris, 5-1, a guy that I like. He's 5-1 over on FanDuel. DP World Tour season ranks. He's third in scrambling, second in par 4 scoring. Who else do we got? Bernd Weisberger, I like a lot. Where's he at? Plus 300 on FanDuel. Weisberger was T68 at St. Andrews back in 2015. Made the cut, didn't do a whole lot. Top 5 on the DP World Tour this season in sand saves, a guy who we've seen pop on leaderboards for years now. So those are the next two guys that I would probably say for a top 40. Outside of that, Sam, that's about all I got.
Yeah. This was a week I wanted to definitely go heavy on my winners. I fit in some later guys like JT Poston. Definitely like guys like that. Look, there's a lot of good names, and names typically come out of the woodwork to at least, cash in on top 20s or top 10s that we never would expect. So I'm sure we'll see some deep names come out of the European woodwork for this tournament as well. But I mean,
yeah, just like the past couple of years here and the past Open Championships, you see some crazy guys make their way towards the top of the leaderboard. So if you want to throw some each ways out there, make sure Bet Rivers is offering the best number, because you can really get screwed over by doing that top 7 each way. But I'll be throwing some of those plays into the Discord. Outside of that, Sam, thanks for joining me again. We will see you guys next week, and good luck at the Open Championship.
Good luck.